going on for a while in the Centers for Spiritual Living. I keep seeing on Facebook that this CSL went here, and they're from CSL Monterey. Monterey, give them a hand. And so they can go back to their center and tell them about what's going on here as well. So Michelle's going to do that, but we're just really grateful that Michelle had this idea and met this wonderful man who she'll tell you about, but had this idea that this would bring us together even more to actually go traveling. We wouldn't be leading it. There'll be actually somebody there. So Rita and I actually just get to be with you on a journey, which is so cool, just the thought of that. So bring in the llama. Bring in the llama. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Is it supposed to be on?
Oh, is it? Okay, so would you
I was going to invoke, but maybe this is our invocation.
Yeah, so she's going to invoke us in, and then we're going to get started.
Okay, so take a moment just to take a deep breath and to just know that right in this moment there is an expansion happening within each of us and a spiritual awakening within each of us that is just carrying us even further and deeper into our true selves, which is that spirit, that power, that light, that energy, that source of all prosperity, that source of all abundance, that source of all love. I know that's what's present here today, and I'm grateful in advance for everything that takes place, everything that we learn. I'm grateful to Michelle for bringing this here to us, and I just know this time unfolds perfectly. Oh my God, look at that face of God right there. How beautiful. So thank you very much. I am so grateful. Mahalo, 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 as I release this word and just say, and so it is. Go, Michelle.
Thank you, everybody. I'm very excited to see how many people stayed and curious and wanting to find out a little bit more about Peru. I am going to pause this because I know our eyes always wander. Let me get a good photo. I do have, and these are my photos from when I've been to Peru, and then I also have a presentation that will be more specific to the tour that we're going to be taking. But I thought I would play this to start off because it's always good to see Peru, though this isn't really the highlight of Peru. But it's the reality of parts of Peru, that's for sure. So what's going to happen in my presentation is I am going to share a little bit about myself, my background, also about Spirit Tours, who we will be taking the tours with, and then also we'll have the presentation, and then I'll talk about what the next steps are for people who are interested in moving forward and joining us. So first off, as you all know, my name is Michelle. Beyond being here at Science of Mind and learning and all the things that you hear and see me doing here at CSL, I am pretty much a gypsy. Traveling is in my blood. I've done it ever since I was actually before I was born. My mom traveled when she was pregnant with me, so I think that's kind of where it came from. But I have 10 years background of being a tour guide, where I did actual big group tours, where I led 40 to 50 people around the world, essentially. I did a lot here in Hawaii. We did 10-day tours that were 3 island hoppers. I did a lot of West Coast tours, East Coast tours. I did some Australia, New Zealand, Cuba, Italy. So I definitely had an opportunity to really travel a lot and get paid for it, which was fabulous. And then I was tired of leaving home all the time. So I came off the road about a little over a year and a half ago, which was the same time I found Science of Mind and CSL. And now I'm a tour guide here local on island. And I still travel as much as possible. So about, what month is this? Back in February, if you read Science of Mind magazine, you would have read that they had a whole section on sacred travel. Now, one of the things that was challenging for me with my traveling is the people that would be drawn to the tours weren't always necessarily interested in the spirituality side of where we are. Even though Hawaii is very spiritual and we'd go to a lot of different places, we didn't have that vein. So that's what's completely different and what really drew me to even talk to the Revs about doing something like this, because there was an article on a company called Spirit Tours. They were one of several that were in the magazine. It was just the one that pinged, you know, when you get that knowing. And I just knew, and I called, and lo and behold, the owner actually answered, which I had worked for a company for 9.5 years and never spoke to the owner of the company I worked for. So that impressed me right off the bat. And we just hit it off. And his name is Jim Kramer. He's owned Spirit Tours for 15 years. He has been a tour guide all around the world as well. Before even starting Spirit Tours, he is also an active travel agent, so that helps with us with flights for those of us who need help with flights for our trip. But he's just got that extensive background, and he's a member of the CSL in Santa Rosa. So Spirit Tours as a company only does tours with CSL centers and Unity churches. And that is because they do spiritual tours. They have a spiritual component every day. And most of the tour guides, the one that will be with us once we get to Peru, are all reverends. So it's really in vein with being able to practice this in our lives. And that's why I was mentioning, we get to, before when I was doing my announcements, we get to really practice what we learn here. But we also get to do it when we're not here on island, because we get to take this wherever we go. And that's why I really invited everybody to just keep an open mind. Don't figure out how it's going to work. That part we leave up to the universe. So just by being here, you've already made a decision to at least learn more and open yourselves up to the possibilities. Because when we travel, that's, for me anyways, I'll speak for myself, that's where I've had the most amazing experiences, the most spiritual connection with myself and the place that we are. And everywhere is spiritual, really, because it's all God-infused. But there are certain places that have extra oomph, so to speak. And Peru is one of those. So when I talked to the reverends about doing this, we didn't have a country in mind because they do tours all over the world, but Peru came up because it is one that's really high on people's lists, and it's also one that will stretch us. It will stretch us to believe that we can go and to make the decision to go. And for some, going to a foreign destination where you don't speak the language, you don't know much about the culture, the food, or anything like that, it just feels safer to go as a group. And let me tell you, with my experience over the years, what I see happens within a group is a tremendous bonding. We make new friends, we really get to know about ourselves, we get to know sometimes a little too much about each other. If you want to know a little bit more of that, come see Flying Solo. I will be sharing a bit about that when we do our little 10-minute solo plays or one-woman plays. But the idea is that to go as a congregation, even if it's folks from the mainland that have the connection with CSL, it grows us as a community. It truly does. And then to go to a place as special and as spectacular as Peru, it's just mind-blowing. So I've been in touch with Jim, so I called him and we chatted and we connected, and then about 6 weeks ago I was in San Francisco and I had a chance to meet him, and it was one of those like serendipitous when it's meant to happen, and it did, and it was really, really great. And so he's really hands-on with helping us get started in what we need to do to move forward to make the tour happen. Now, to make the tour happen, we need you guys to support it as well. So it's not just about me, it's not just about the reverends, and it's not just about Jim. It's truly about us pulling together as a community. Now, what Jim will help us with is keeping it all organized. He does everything on the Peruvian end. So the tour is already set up. It's a tour they've been doing for several years, and you'll get to see a snippet of that when I play the video later. It will be specifically on the tour that we're going to do. So it's something that's already planned, done, and taken care of. We've picked the dates. The dates have changed since I had first announced. So the flyer that I was passing out to many of you, there's a few left if you didn't get one. It's August 7th through the 16th of 2017. And that is 64 weeks away, which means if you start putting away your pennies now, it's $12 a day to go to Peru. And I'll break it down what that actually means. But we were laughing because I'm like, I can justify and rationalize anything to get travel in to people's lives, especially my own. You should see what I've done. So I did pass this out for you to have as we speak. I will do a highlight of the tours. I will not go into the day-to-day activities of the tour. That will be actually for presentations that will be done closer to when we leave, along with what to pack, what to wear, what to expect, all those kind of things. We'll have that for those who do decide to move forward at that time. But for those who do need and want to know, I do have a booklet that has the day-to-days. They're just limited, so that'll be available after for those of you who are definitely moving forward with us, or those who are curious, because sometimes reading what we actually do will help make the decision. Now, going back to the actual tour, when you're looking at it, Machu Picchu is definitely the highlight, but it is not the only fabulous place in Peru. We will be starting in the town of Cusco. So what happens is, for those of us who want to fly as a group, that will be organized. We'll be flying from LA. There are direct flights to Lima from LA, and then we go on to Cusco. For those who are coming from any other part of the country, you can either meet us in LA or you can actually meet us in Cusco. And I also know, because people have shared with me, there's other, like, people have airline privileges or have miles they want to use, all that sorts of good stuff. So that's all good. We'll get that all sorted out individually, but the flight is not included in the price. So the price that you see, what is included is per person is all the rooming. All the rooms are at luxury hotels, which you'll see includes all breakfasts. It'll include 8 meals, the train to Machu Picchu, which I'll share a little bit because there's a train that we take to Aguas Calientes. And then actually our tour manager who will be there, but then a tour guide that will guide us throughout the ruins of Machu Picchu once we get there, because that is towards the end of the week. So it includes quite a bit. The key is that it is all luxury accommodations, because there is all kinds of accommodations that you can dream of. Some you were seeing before. But it's all luxury. They go all high end with that. And every day we have meditation included in the morning. And for example, one of the things that we do for a spiritual part of it is that we will actually be meeting with an Incan shaman and having a presentation by them or by him. So a lot is included in that, but there's also free time. So you'll have free time in Cusco to shop, go to the spa, just relax, wander around. So there's pockets of free time throughout the tour as well, which is great. And also, it's a good balance, actually. I know that the tours I used to do were really full on and we were just active all the time. So this is a great mix where we'll have some free time. And then, so we take care of the tour component. Now, if you are interested in wanting to stay after the tour and either stay in South America longer or do anything else, that's completely on your own, because we are only taking care of the actual tour part of Peru. Because I know some of us are big time travelers, and I know for me it's kind of, well, while I'm down there, because there's a lot of other countries, there's a lot of other places in Peru to see. So we pretty much do round trip Cusco to Cusco. We'll fly from Lima to Cusco. We'll spend a few nights in Cusco. Then we go into a beautiful area called the Sacred Valley, which you'll see some different photos, and we'll go to a couple different villages on our way to Machu Picchu. Now, one of the challenges that you may be aware of is when we're in Cusco, we're at about 11,000 feet. So there's sometimes people who have challenges with altitude sickness. So just to let you know about that, there are remedies that are always readily available, and all hotels have oxygen on hand. So it's something that is very common. Not everybody experiences it, and it's experienced in different degrees. And the kind of things to help us prevent that will be what will be talked about when we're closer to departure. So it's things like that. But I know I always like to put it out in the beginning. Now, a lot of people also associate Machu Picchu with the Inca Trail. We are not hiking. That hike is pretty massive, but we do have quite a bit of walking around when we're in the site. So you do need to be able to be, pretty mobile. I would say very mobile. And then once we are there, there's an opportunity to do a different hike. So that's kind of an additional to our actual visit of Machu Picchu. So you do need to be mobile. They don't have the same ADA requirements as we do, because ADA is America Disability. So, sometimes people think that it's going to be the same, and it's going to be the same, like ramps and escalators and elevators. And, there are some, but it's not to the same standards. So that's something to always keep in mind as well. Now, what I would like to share also is a little touch upon in regards to travel protection. We do not, or Spirit Tours does not require trip insurance. However, it's really highly recommended, and this is the company that they use. So I have flyers here on the counter. I also know that sometimes credit cards cover you. There's other ways of getting travel insurance, but it is something I do recommend. It's not mandatory, but I do recommend. It's very far. We're spending a lot of money to get there. That's really valuable, and anything can happen. We always go on the basis that we are safe and healthy and we get there. However, I have seen and, I've had it happen on my tours where it can be very costly if something does happen and you don't have trip insurance. So I don't know all the details, but they are here, and then you can actually call the company to get more information if this is something that you want to follow through with, but it is not included in the price. Now, the price is also for a double occupancy. Some people have already shared with me that they want to have their own room, and that is possible as well if you are traveling singly and do not want to have a roommate. There is an additional charge, which soon I'll be passing out the application, and it has that all listed. And if you are not wanting to do that, but you are traveling singly, we will help you find a roommate. So that's pretty much, some people have already found roommates in here, which is great, but we will get you connected. And that was one of the questions. I'm not sure where the clipboard is, but if you haven't had the clipboard yet, that's to sign in. So I have your information to keep in touch, but I've also asked if you have roommates or, oh, yep, to the, thank you, no, not up front here. If you have a roommate request, or you already know, or if you need a room, or if you want to do single. So there's lots of customizing even within the package, which is also really great. You know, we have a lot of options. So I know I am giving a ton of information all at once, though most of it is in writing here and then in the application to move forward. So, any questions so far before I play the video? So with the insurance, mostly it covers if something were to happen while you're on tour, either an accident or an illness. It also, if you have to miss your trip, you get refunds. Or if you miss a flight, or if your luggage is delayed, all sorts of details like that. But mostly it's if it's for a health, because HMSA is not covered in Cusco. So it's to cover anything that your insurance would not cover. What's that? I don't think they cover Medicare either. Machu Picchu, I don't think so. They probably have their own insurance where they're all covered. So far so good? Yes. Okay, so to LA or to get all the way down to Peru? No, none of the flights are included. It's just when we get there is included. So how the flights work though is that, and we chose LA because there are direct flights from Kauai to LA and then LA to Lima. And then from Lima, we would get on to Cusco. So right now, when I've done some research, it's actually a little too far out to find out exactly how much it would be, but we're estimating about $1,500 to $1,600 round trip, and that will get you to Cusco and back to Kauai. Now we're saying that because we figured we'd rather estimate it a little bit higher. That way, when you're planning for your 64 weeks on when you're going to be, what you're going to be saving, if it comes in under that, then you have some extra spending money and you've already kind of planned for it and you've stretched for it. So the roundabout figure we're looking at is about $5,000 per person. And again, that would include the tour and the flights, and then probably a little bit of extra spending. And extra spending is dependent on you. If you're big shoppers, if you like to eat out fancy, you know, we'll have some meals on our own too. So the extra money will be dependable on you. Yes, Melissa? I think it's about 10 hours from LA to Lima was the question. Nobody smokes on their flights anymore. Nope. And some airports have places, but most airports are smoke-free now too. Okay. Well, without further ado, I will get us into the video. So this video was created by Jim, and it was all his pictures from a more recent tour that he took in Peru. He sent me all kinds of other things too. I think he's teasing me. He knows how much I love to travel. And this will go through. There we go. So this is going to be pictures that highlight the whole journey that we're going to be on and show you some of the hotels. So we will have a couple of days in Cusco first. Cusco has tons of history. It's a beautiful city, lots of ruins. The coca leaves is what helps with altitude sickness. So right off the plane, you'll see them everywhere. It is not intoxicating. A lot of people think that they're going to go and get high. The only thing you're going to get high from is the altitude. That's everywhere, and you chew on it, and that helps you to climatize. Now, when we leave Cusco, we'll be going down in elevation. So it's really just when we're in Cusco. And sometimes people are fine. It doesn't bother people. But if it does, we will be there to help. And this is showing when we're going to meet with the Incan shaman in the little village in the part that's called the Sacred Valley. We're also going to get to see some hands-on crafts. You'll see in a little bit there, we're going to see some weavers There's lots of markets. They're so colorful. Their whole culture is extremely colorful, and there's such a culturally, there's such a mix between indigenous people and the Spanish that came. So you'll see that. You'll see that in the architecture. You'll see that in the food. You'll see that in the clothes. But it's really, Cusco's really well kept, and our hotel is in a really great location near the plaza, and there's a lot going on in the plaza. Lots of churches and buildings and Sun Temple. So there'll be things that will be organized for us every day, so we get to experience that as well. You get to see some of their clothes and their weaving. There's an abundance of markets too, so you'll get to see all sorts of farmers markets. You'll get to see, this is some of their products that they make. Their rugs, their sweaters, their hats. Yeah. Llama, and you'll see alpacas. While we're there, we'll also get to experience a lot of music. They do lots of times it's just out in the street when we're out and about, but it'll also be part of when we have different activities and cultural presentations. One thing I found when I went to Peru about 10 years ago, and one thing that I really found was that people were so magical. They're so friendly and just want to talk to us and share with us, even though, with the differences in language, they still want to share. And it was such an endearing, it was just done in such an endearing, loving way, where I've been to other countries where they really only want to talk to you because they want you to buy something and they want to sell something and they want money, and it's almost like a grabby kind of feel. But here they just want to be with you. And of course, some of them will be selling things as well. So, if that's something that you want to do to help support the local people, that'd be fantastic. So these are all pictures that are in the Sacred Valley. Transportation is also included. I didn't mention that. Once we leave Cusco and go into the Sacred Valley and do the different villages, that's included. And then we have to get on a train to Aguas Calientes, because that's the only way to actually get there. There's no roads that go in and out of that town, that village. And then that village is actually at the bottom of the route to get up to Machu Picchu. So it's a bit of a trek to get out there for sure, and it's something that stayed hidden for thousands of years. They don't really know too much about it. They have ideas and they have speculations, and that's the kind of information that we'll get from our tour guide once we're there. But as you can see, it's just, the whole country is very beautiful, and these are the Andes. So we'll be traveling through the Andes. This is something that's very unique. They have spring water that comes up that's salty, and so that this is in the mountains where they are drying out salt and making salt for preservation, mostly for their food, and also of course seasonings. So we'll get to see these places along the way. This is about midweek. By bus. For these ones, it's by bus. Oh, sure. Yep. The question was in regards to the transportation from village to village, and that was with bus until we hop on the train. And then what was your next question? Yeah, some of them are, and then some of them are just the housing in the area. And then this is the town that's below Machu Picchu. So here we arrive midday. We'll have some time to explore the actual town. They have hot springs. There's lots of restaurants, and then in the morning is when we're going to travel up and about mid-morning. We don't get there for sunrise because what happens is there's a lot of fog in the morning, so it's very challenging. And when you see my pictures, you see like you can't even see 2 feet in front of you. So we wait for a little bit for some of the fog to burn off. And then that first picture you saw, that's kind of like the epic overlook where everybody always gets their photos from. And then we actually go down into the ruins. So the complex is quite large. We have the entire day to explore there. It will include an actual guided tour with an English-speaking guide. Totally key. Sounds obvious, but it's going to be an English-speaking guide. We get to go through the ruins. This is where you'll also have the opportunity to do a hike on the peak that's behind the ruins. So you know anytime you see the pictures, you see the ruins and there's a beautiful mountain behind it. This one, that's called Huayna Picchu. And that is actually a trail that goes all the way up. They only allow 400 people to go up a day. And, I'm sorry? It's stone and gravel and trail. So it's it's that peak that's you go up to the top of it. I did it, and I'm not particularly a hiker. I mean, it took me a while. I was not running up. But what it affords you is a completely different perspective of Machu Picchu. And what that also does is it shows, because they believe that Machu Picchu was done in a particular pattern. Everything was very specific. And you'll get to learn that there too, all based on astronomy and geography and everything. But what it does, it gives you a view of Machu Picchu that makes it look like it's a condor, if you have imagination. Yep, to get from the town up to Machu Picchu is also by bus. And it takes about 20-25 minutes. It's a switchback road that leads you up there. Some people do hike it, but we'll have a bus. So there you go. Pretty special. Yes. I don't know. The question was in regards to how long are the bus rides. I don't know. And that would vary from day to day with what we're doing and how many stops we have. Yes. Oh, good question. I actually haven't looked that up yet, but I could do that. Okay, because it's easy to look up on an app. It is. Oh, it's definitely, yeah. Our dollar will get us a lot down there, especially for meals and for shopping. Everything is relatively inexpensive. Just like any place where there's a lot of tourists, there are places where there will be things that will be more, but then if you get out of the main tourist areas, it'll be really, I mean, we'll have a sticker shock coming back home. Sticker shock. Like, things will seem really expensive to us when we come back home because we get so much more for what we spend down there. I just recently experienced that. So these are some of my pictures I'd like to share with you. I went with my mom for my 30th birthday, and we started in Lima, so I did not include those pictures. But yeah, it was last year. Thank you. I appreciate that. But I do want to share, once we got to the town, I was talking about Aguas Calientes at the bottom of Machu Picchu. So they're known for their hot springs. So they have areas where you can go and bathe in the waters, and it's very much known for healing and the sacred energy there. And then we went up. I mean, it was magical. I have to admit, it was one of those moments where we got up. This is after some of the fog was lifting, but when we first got there, it was a whiteout. It was really, it was actually quite disappointing. But so that's why we waited a little bit later to go. We were there for sunrise, so we had gotten up really early to go. And also what happens is, as that started to lift, it actually made it feel really magical. It cast a whole different feel and a whole different spell on the whole area. And then as our guide was taking us through, we happened to end up right at the Sun Temple as the sun was popping over the mountains. So we had this huge ray of sun just beam down on us. I have some pictures too. And we experienced something I've never seen since. And it was one of those like in the moment kind of God shots where we were actually in the sunlight, bringing it in. I'm pausing because I want to get to the picture of it. Yeah, it's very, very misty. Yeah, there was a bird and there were a couple of alpacas. I was there in June. And the reason why we chose August is because it is winter there, but it's not wet, dry, it's not rainy season yet. So our timing will be good where it will be cool, because it can actually get quite hot, at the temple. Even at that elevation, it can get quite hot. But we, it's just a perfect time to go, and plus that's what it fit for everybody's schedule and the availability of having a guide. The question was about these ruins being rebuilt. Some of them have. Some of them have had. So that's where we were when the sun came up. Some of the buildings have been redone, and some of it even had to how they believe it used to be with the thatch on top and everything. But quite a bit has been. So I have all these orbs that are with me in the picture, and then and those of you who know me, I do this pose around the world, and we have some other pictures where. Oh well, here's some video. So it's a little bit hard to see, but there was a full rainbow in the cloud that was right in front of us. Yeah, it was a full, complete circle, and I had never seen anything like it. And the way we could actually see our shadow in the rainbow. And yeah, there's some alpacas on there. Winter, it can get down to 40s or 50s. So during the day, it'll probably be 50s and 60s. So it's comfortable. I mean, we'll actually have to wear jeans and shoes and possibly long sleeves and jacket. Yes. And those are some of the friends that we see down there. I wouldn't think it's long johns. The alpaca are friendly. They're pretty used to people, so they don't really, that's what, I mean, they're just wild there. And so they just kind of are there. They don't, they're just chillaxing. They eat the grass. Yep, they eat the grass. The whole big family. Yeah, they don't need to mow. They're the gardeners of Machu Picchu. And then once we have, what's that? Okay. Once we have our guided tour, and if you choose to go up to the ruins or not, then we have free time. And that's actually when it's really special, because then you can wander on your own and you can really absorb the feeling there and the energy and be there and ground there. And this is some of the pictures. There's the hike up Huayna Picchu, which is the really big hike, and then there's another one that goes out to the Sun Gate. So there's a couple other, which is not as strenuous, it's more level. So there are other activities that you can do once you're there. There's also a restaurant there, so lunch will be provided. So there's there's support there in regards to the fact that thousands and thousands of people go every day. And one of the reasons why we go a little bit earlier too is because the people who are hiking in, because there are people that are doing the 3-day hike, they arrive about mid-afternoonish. So it's we get there before the mass crush of buses, but we also get there a little bit before the hikers do, because they travel in quite big packs as well. Yes, so we'll spend the full day. It's 1 day in Machu Picchu, and then once we leave Machu Picchu, we do have another night down in the town below before we get back on the train to head to Cusco, because then we go back to Cusco, and we'll have another full day in Cusco before we make if you're heading home, before we make our journey. If you're traveling on from there, then that will also we get you back to Cusco. So for an idea for people who are wanting to go anywhere else down in South America or in Peru, then you would just do your journeys from Cusco. Traveling there now, we are in May, so it's their fall. Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you. So what I'd like to do now is pass out and chat about what the next step is. So actually, Robin, would you mind helping me to get some on the other side? So I'll wait till this gets passed out. If you are, again, wanting more details, I'll leave some of the flyers up here. When we get closer to the date, we would also get more of those and a full itinerary and learn more. I also mentioned when I was doing the announcements that the tour is open to anyone. So if you have family members that want to join you, other friends that may be interested, we're totally open. We do need 16 people to commit with down payment for us to be able to say, yes, we're going, thumbs up, yeehaw. And we are also maxing out at 30 people. So the tour will be up to 30 people. And I truly have a feeling, and I just know that we will sell out. And once this gets passed out, it does have date-wise. Are there more circulating around? I think Loya was still needing one. Oh, there's a whole batch there. So the next step for people who want to move forward is to actually put a deposit down. For a deposit, it's $474. It can be done by check or credit card. If you use credit card, there is a little surcharge for that. And what will happen once you fill this out and do a deposit, I will be kind of collecting everything and keeping track of it all, but I'll also photocopy and then send, and even for the folks on the mainland, I'll photocopy so you have a copy too with all the different dates, because there are specific dates that you need to have the other payments by. Now the latest anyone can sign up, if there's still room, is 90 days before the tour. So after that, we kind of close it off. We do want sooner rather than later to have the known at least the 16, so that we know for sure that we're moving forward and that we can keep putting it out to the community. And then for those of you who are watching the video that will be online and you're off island, you can still fill out. I have an emailable copy, so I'll be in touch, or you can be in touch with me and we'll spread the word. Also for Canadian friends in Toronto, we're in the works of getting everything put in Canadian dollar for you guys, so to make it a little bit simpler. But it's the same process. Those off island could also send direct to Spirit Tours. The information's on the bottom. I would recommend just making a copy for yourself, or you can send it to me and I'll send it in as we do it as a group. So it's just your information. If there's anything that we need to know, medically or dietary, this would be a good time to have it, because that gets all put on like a big roster. It's $32.74 per person, and again, that includes everything I was talking about: the hotels, the breakfasts. There's 4 lunches, 4 dinners, all the transportation, our tour manager and a tour guide, and entrance fees into Machu Picchu, including the train. So it does include all of that, even though it's not all listed. It does include all of that. So after that, with the registration, you can make smaller payments if you want to, but what absolutely has to be done and do is $1,400 by November 7th. So it's still quite a few months out. And then April 7th has to be the final payment, and everything needs to be done in that time frame. I also want you to have a copy, because the refund policy is on here, where if you cancel before 90 days, 350 of it is non-refundable. So that's why also we're not rushing, even though we want people to commit. We know that it's a commitment. So we want you to sit on it, pray on it. If you know for sure, if you're just going to make that declaration and know that the universe is going to make it happen for you, we're here to help you with that as well. And then it does get where you get closer to, and if you're within 45 days of the tour, there's no refund, because everything's been pretty much booked, paid for, and ticketed by that point. So 90 days before the tour. So I would think that's, off the top of my head, April. It's probably the same date as the last payment, or the final payout. And also there's an option, if people want to pay for the whole thing outright and get it done with, we can help with that as well. We can still take the money however you want to do it. And then I'm trying to see if I've got everything. Oh, it also includes one thing that I hadn't listened and haven't mentioned yet, is also when we arrive in Cusco, we will get transfers to the hotel. So that would be taken care of. And I believe there's an opportunity for those of you who will be just meeting us there in Cusco for that to happen as well. So as we go along, I'll be collecting all that information, all the flights, and all the details if you're not coming with the group from Kauai or even in LA. Because again, those of you on the mainland in Canada, you can meet us in LA or meet us in Cusco. I know that Toronto, there's a direct flight down to Lima. So those of you in Toronto will want to consider just meeting us down there. It'd be a lot easier, a lot simpler for all of you. Yes. We have to fly into Lima. That's where the international airport is. And then from Lima, we have about a 2-hour hop flight over to Cusco. So the tour technically starts in Cusco. To Cusco. And if we do it as the group, or you could always meet us in LA, you know, as a possibility. I mean, depending on where you guys are at. And that's the thing, if you need help with any of that, Jim will definitely help with flights. So for us as the group, but also if you're coming from other spots and meeting us either in LA or down in Cusco, Jim from Spirit Tours will help with all that as well, which is great, pretty hands-on. I'm sorry? No, he'll walk you through it to book it. Yes, the financial side is up to you in Spirit. but good clarification. And the most. Well, that's a good question in regards to spending the night in LA. The flights that I was looking at is with American Airlines, and there's a night flight that leaves here. We would have a really big layover in LA, but we would not need to get a hotel. It would be about a 6-7 hour layover. Right. It's definitely long travels, but an option that people can do too is that if you want to go not with the group and do a night in LA to break it up, you can certainly choose to do that too. You would just be leaving a day earlier. Yeah, that's absolutely something that can be worked out. Now, the dates that are on the pamphlet says August 7th. For us, technically, to leave out of here to make it to Cusco, we would most likely be leaving on August 6th, depending on flights. So if you wanted to do something like that, like actually take a night or two in LA, you would just leave a few days earlier. And those are the kind of details that we work out as we go along and based on individual requirements and what you're wanting. Yes. So the question was in regards to transportation once you get to Cusco. That will all be arranged for you. And that's why I would need to get all those details and flights, and because then we have someone that's down there organizing that side of it for us for when we arrive. But to answer your actual direct question, I don't know who it is. I just know that someone does. Absolutely. The question was in regards to going even earlier to Lima and spending a few days in Lima before going to Cusco. Absolutely. Or even after the tour, if you're wanting to do that or go. Because Lima is a good central point if you're wanting to go to other countries in South America or even other parts of Peru. Lima is a good jumping off point. Great questions, you guys. Or you can bring it to me. You can mail the money in, or you can bring it to me. Because right now, especially in the beginning, it's actually, I'm going to change that. I would say bring it to me if you're here on island, because that way I can keep a compilation and keep copies of everybody's application and all the payment information, and then send them all in at once to Jim at Spirit Tours. Yes. Right. Right, it will still all be under CSL Kauai, no matter where you're coming from, which CSL you're coming from. So funneling it through us will also, first of all, make sure we meet the minimums, but that we don't overbook either. Because I know for sure, I've already been contacted by 6 people off island who are pretty much for sure. You know, of course, nobody's for sure until there's a check or, you know, a credit card number. But there's still that interest. So that's why, too, like, you want to pray about it and sit with it to see if it's right for you. and you want to make a decision sooner rather than later, because there are other people who are going to be having the opportunity to book like us. Yes, Glenn? Okay. So the comment was in regards to getting miles from Denver to Lima for 20,000. My disclaimer on that is that this is 15 months out from now. So everything can change with pricing, but there are other options, especially for people who are flying from other places. That was with United. And I do know Air Canada has a direct flight from Toronto to Lima as well, for those of you in Canada. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll wrap it up, and I don't have any of my business cards, but I can give you my personal information as well off to the side. I'd rather not blast that all over the intranet. But if you're wanting more questions to be answered or have other concerns or anything like that, any kind of support, please let me know. And of course, the Reverends are here. And then for anything that I'm not sure of, I always just have a direct connect with Jim too, which helps. So I want to thank all of you for coming here and being open to the possibilities of travel to Peru, because I know that everything that is here right with us is all backed by that powerful source, that universal love, that energy. And we know that we live and we are in a sea of infinite possibilities. And that is what we learn, that's what we teach, that's what we get to practice here. And so by coming together to even gather this information, to learn a little bit more, I know that Spirit is flowing through in each one of us right here and right now, knowing that this was a divine appointment to be here together, to gather in this consciousness, knowing that everything will be provided for us. Perfect health, transportation, the funds, the funding in miraculous, creative, amazing ways that we can't even figure out on our own. And we know that we just leave that up to the universe. All we need to do is make a decision. And with so much gratitude in my heart, I know that each and every one that's meant to be on that tour will be on that tour. And that everyone in the whole process will be supported and loved, and just filled with gratitude for all of this knowingness, and knowing that it unfolds perfectly for each one of us. And I release my word into the universe that only says yes to anything that we want, Peru and beyond, as we say together, and so it is.